Neotokyo. You might have never heard about this game, or you might have played the source mod. Today, we're going to talk about how the development of the game started, the development history, the game release, and its inevitable death. The idea for Neotokyo started when Gray, Justin Harvey, decided that he wanted to develop a game from scratch. Due to his experience at coding graphics engines, Gray set off to coding a game engine, dubbed Ready 8 Engine. Realizing that coding his own engine from scratch would take a very long time, Gray decided to make a total conversion after he saw the early tech demos of Valve's Source engine. Rounding up a team of relatively inexperienced modders, Gray found Studio Ready 8, where they took the helm as lead designer and programmer. Although always intended to be a source mod, Neotokyo went into prototype development as a modification for Unreal Tournament 2004. When Valve delayed the release of Half-Life 2 due to pre-release source code leaks, it was during the development of this version of Neotokyo that the gameplay details were fleshed out. Neotokyo was one of the entrants in the Make Something Unreal contest, which Tripwire Studios also participated and brought some of the most known games out of light, like Red Orchestra. The main prize of the competition would be $50,000, which, considering that the guys at Ready 8 were indie, would give them a boost to start their own company and release Neotokyo as a commercial product. But they didn't realize what a colossal task it would be to prototype a game and finish it in 6 months. As a result of that, Ready 8 dropped out of the competition, but they were determined to at least finish the prototype of the game and release it as a free Unreal Tournament 2004 mod. The mod was quite well received. With the feedback the guys at Ready 8 got, the Source engine officially releasing, they started work on the Source engine version of Neotokyo. The Source engine version of Neotokyo started development somewhere around 2005. The mod went through quite a development cycle, which would last almost 5 years. At one point, even Gabe Newell and Eric Johnson visited one of the developers of Ready 8, also known as Pushback, in New Zealand as part of their Australian trip. Coming close to the release date, people were excited about the future of Neotokyo and its final release.
Okay, we'll get right into Neo Tokyo then. Alright, so Neo Tokyo was released this week.
Yes, I'm sure that there is not a single person in the live stream that hasn't heard about this, but if you haven't, it's kind of a big thing. It took about 5 years, and it shows. It is a fantastic mod.
Do you guys want the actual
No. Wait, I want to hear first because I know everybody else's impressions. Dave, I want to hear your impressions on Neo Tokyo and your thoughts on it.
Well, I've only played it with the devs because I haven't had time to play games recently, and so my impressions of it was that it's a very I don't know how to explain it, but you know how you play a Half-Life mod and it feels like Half-Life? And even like other mods like Dystopia and whatnot, they still kind of have that Half-Life feel, you know, like you still run at the same pace that you would expect a Half-Life mod to go, and you still get shot the same way, and it still feels like, you know, all that sort of shit. But when you play Neo Tokyo, there's this different feeling that comes across. It's like they've used the engine to maximize how different the actual gameplay is. Like, people say, oh, it's just Counter-Strike in the future. It's not. It's very unique. Like, you kind of have to play it to understand, but I'm sure you guys would agree with that, right? Like,
No. I don't think you realize how close.
Not to say that people were waiting for the good part of half a decade for the mod to release, and to finally get to play it all these years later. The game's visual and style were based off Cowboy Bebop and Ghost in the Shell, which I must admit, the developers did capture the style pretty well. The basic story of Neotokyo is that Neotokyo takes place in Japan about 30 to 40 years later in the future, which had drifted into social political strife due to the inevitable stress that comes from changing times. The Japanese government is grappling with intensified external Asian geopoliticals and internal economic and social problems, and there is mounting pressure from within Japan to return to the days where it exerted influence through military power and strength. A failed legislative push to alter the Japanese constitution, allowing the Japanese military to engage in offensive actions outside of the country, leads to an attempted military coup by members of Japanese Armed Forces, the GSDF. The coup failed, but was very close to succeeding. In an effort to suppress further coup attempts, Japan's Prime Minister forms a branch inside the Interior Ministry National Security Forces, also known as the NSF, called Group 6. They answer directly to the Prime Minister and are sworn to protect the Japanese constitution at all costs. They immediately begin to hear rumors of a rogue element of the GSDF Special Forces, Genrai, maneuvering from a second coup attempt. These Genrai are Special Operations Group 43, also known as SOG 43. Fierce nationalists, loyal to their love of country and a desire to put Japan back into a position of strength and power. Neotokyo's mod release was well received and people praised it for its fun gameplay and original art and visuals. But after release, problems began to appear. Although the game was still getting consistent updates, the game developers were losing interest in their project after they released the game they worked on for 5 years. They wanted to move on. The main composer for the game's soundtrack you're listening to right now went to get hired by Square Enix to work on the Deus Ex Mankind Divided soundtrack and would go on to compose the full soundtrack of Deus Ex Breach. In 2012, the main tester for Neotokyo would go on to put Neotokyo on Steam's now defunct Greenlight program, where it was successfully voted to be released on Steam. After the Steam release, the guys at Ready 8 would again continue to support the game with bug fixes and a few new maps. But after that, the game just faded into obscurity. People weren't interested in the game anymore, which shows by its current player numbers, which you can see right now. The last update the game got was in 2017, which was just a normal bug fix. It's uncertain what the developers are going to do for the future of the game, but currently the game is completely dead. Aside for a Steam group named Active Neotokyo players, which are still playing the game almost every Friday, the game is completely dead. So that's it, the development history of Neotokyo. I hope you enjoyed the short trip down to memory lane. I hope you watched some of my later videos, which are totally not based off this. This is like the first ever video I made on this subject, so I hope you like it. Anyways,